Hey, good morning. Oh my gosh, what's going on with my hair this week? Hell, man, I've not had a haircut in about 11 weeks because this is week 10 of the COVID-19 stay-at-home art live stream. So I'm Todd Nauck. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So glad you're here. So we're going to draw Nightcrawler. Going to draw Nightcrawler on this purple post-it note. Nightcrawler had when he teleports, Nightcrawler from the X-Men. You know Nightcrawler from the X-Men. Actually, a comic book series I did with classic X-Men writer Chris Claremont. We did that series for Marvel a few years ago. So much fun. Loved doing that 12-issue series. So when Nightcrawler teleports, he has like this purple sulfur and brimstone smoke that appears and disappears every time he teleports. So I thought a purple post-it note might be cool for that. So feel free to draw along. You don't have to use a post-it note though. You can use whatever paper you got that's, art appropriate. Use whatever tools you have available. Pencils, pens, coloring tools of any sort, crayons, colored pencils, watercolor markers of whatever brand, feel free. I'll use Copic markers because that's the brand I have and use. But yeah, feel free to have a good time. So glad you're here. I think that does it for the intro here. We'll talk more as we go. Well, why don't we just do that? We'll talk more as we draw. So it's time to flip this camera around and get to drawing. All right, just move the rig back over here a little closer. Readjust the light, and we are, boom, good to go. All right, so art pencil I'm using, my Uni Kuratoga 0.3 mechanical pencil. It's a very small lead with HB lead in the pencil. Going to start with that skull shape. I think we'll do a 3/4 view for Nightcrawler this time. Hello everyone, welcome. Welcome to the live stream. So glad you're here. So get that center line going. Eye line. How am I? I'm doing pretty well. Doing well. Happy to be here hanging out and drawing with y'all. Staying healthy, so I'm good. Start to drop in those eyes right there on the eye line. Nose line and mouth line. Just breaking down the foundation of his head. So I know all the different angles of the head here, like the forehead, side of the head, the temple area, top of the head. What version of Nightcrawler is my favorite to draw? I like classic Nightcrawler, the swashbuckling Nightcrawler, the kind of Errol Flynn kind of Nightcrawler, the sword-wielding, swashbuckling Nightcrawler, the kind of high-flying, acrobatic Nightcrawler. That's my favorite. How much money do I spend on Post-it notes? Not a lot. Post-it notes, thankfully, are fairly inexpensive for what you get. Start to work in the neck here. Neck muscle that kind of pulls from the ear jawline down. See the other side of the shoulders over there. If I could recast Nightcrawler for the MCU movies, who would I cast? I have no idea. I am the worst at the who would you cast game. I am just not good at that at all. I just can never think of who that would be. Who would y'all cast? I'm going to turn that question back on y'all. Who would y'all cast as Nightcrawler for an X-Men MCU movie? I'm sure once you say, I'll say, oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, he'd be great. He'd be great. So That's the way it always is for me when I see those fan casts. It's like I just cannot think of who I would pick, but when I see other people's picks, and then it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. A younger Ryan Reynolds? We'll have to go back in time. But time travel is not unheard of for the X-Men. I thought Alan Cummings did a great job of Nightcrawler in X2. I think it was one of the best parts of that movie, especially that when Nightcrawler kind of invades the White House and he's jumping and bamfing through the halls of the White House. I thought that was an exciting scene. Ryan Gosling, though he'd be a better Barry Allen. Well, it's good to know we got Ryan Gosling locked in for 2 different movie universes, DC and Marvel. Nightcrawler has those yellow eyes, those glowing yellow eyes. So I'm going to, without pupils or irises, so I'm going to keep that in mind. You're going to have a lot of shadow on his face too. So I'm going to start to break down those shadows based on the angles of his face. So his full forehead will be filled in black there. Have I drawn Nightcrawler's father before? Azazel? No, I have not. At least I don't recall. I don't think Azazel showed up in our Nightcrawler series that I did with Claremont. We had a lot of other stuff going on with Nightcrawler for that story, so no Azazel. You enjoyed my villain week, my Marvel villain week of post-its. Do I plan on doing a DC Comics villain week post-it series? It's a possibility. It is a possibility. There are definitely some DC villains that I would enjoy drawing. We'll see. We'll see if that happens sometime in the future. Start to work in this hair here. Who's the most difficult of the X-Men to draw? I'd say probably the most difficult would be Warlock from the New Mutants. He is very, very highly detailed, but I love the character so much that I don't mind drawing all that circuitry detail in. But I'd say he is probably can be the most difficult and time consuming because he is so ornate with his details. But it's so worth it. Hopefully y'all saw the Warlock and Cypher illustration I did on my social media recently. I guess in the past few weeks I had posted that. Start to fill in some dark parts of his hair. Just a few more details here, and then we can move to inks. I want to try to work his tail in here as well. Maybe it's coming from behind, around the side, behind his head, and then over his shoulder here. As you can see here, I drew in his whole shoulder, and as I'm penciling in, I'm having his tail overlap. So it's good that I know where his whole shoulder is. When I'm drawing this, I wouldn't want to draw this much of his neck, then start to draw his tail, and then just start to guess where the shoulder would be. It's better to have the whole shoulder drawn in. This is the good thing about the pencil stage, is that we can overlap elements, and then what we ink, I won't be inking this part of the shoulder because I now have established that his tail overlaps that. But it helps me make sure I know that as I ink the shoulder down, I know right, or the neck down to the shoulder, I know right where it's supposed to go. Probably have some of his Banff smoke because we have all this purple Post-it, so we'll start to kind of rough in how that would look. So we're gonna have a lot of detail going on in this one. Okay, so now it's time to move to inks. Let me grab my microns here. The 08, the 01, and the 005 are my go-tos. And let's start to drop in the inks. How do I decide what color Post-it note to use? Well, I think about the character and what colors they are, or what colors are involved with them. So with Nightcrawler, he has blue fur all over his body. Because he's, the fuzzy elf, as his fellow X-Men affectionately referred to him. So there's a lot of blue going on. His costume is red, and his power signature is purple. So those would be 3 colors I would consider when doing Nightcrawler, doing an illustration of Nightcrawler. So that's kind of the mentality. So like Spider-Man, a lot of red, a lot of blue. Those might be the first 2 color choices I might pick. Batman, it's going to be blue or gray, more than likely. So oftentimes I think about the color of the character, and that might be why I choose that. Now, sometimes I might choose to do a color completely opposite of what the character's colors are known for. So just kind of thinking about those sorts of things, and how will that inform my artistic choices, especially when it comes to the coloring stage. So it could be any number of reasons why I pick a specific color. I hope that made sense. Where do I get single color Post-its? I don't. I buy mine as sets. I have not seen really many opportunities to buy just one, like I could just buy a pad of purple Post-its. You might want to look on eBay if you just need a specific color. Maybe someone's selling off just that one pad from a collection. Would probably be the best, but I don't think any company offers just like a single pad of Post-it. It's probably more cost effective for them to sell them as sets, because usually people buy these just for really mostly making notes, not doing art. So I think more often than not, who knows how many offices, home offices are using Post-it notes. I mean, we use Post-it notes for posting notes all throughout our house as well. In fact, my wife has to ask, which ones am I allowed to use for actually making notes, and which ones are your art Post-its? So, because most of my Post-it note collection is here, I save for the art. So my wife is like, I don't know which ones I can actually write a note on. So I always have to go through my collection and go, okay, I got plenty of oranges here. You take this orange pack. So, or orange pad, I should say, not pack, but pad. So, yeah, that's kind of the Post-it situation. But when I research which packs I want to buy, I consider how many colors are there in that pack. So if I use more blues, I want to find one that has maybe more blues than like yellows or something like that for my artistic needs. see, where's my pencil here? I want to just make sure I have the hair broken down in the right shapes. So I'll just do a little double check here. Just fading the art, or fading the dark. No spit curl. I have a little bit of almost a spit curl there, but I don't do a very defined spit curl for my Nightcrawler. I save those more for Superman and Superboy, like the real traditional spit curl. But I do have a little bit of one kind of kicking off right there. Not. It's more of a subtle spit curl, more so than a like a really defined spit curl. That's just my approach, my personal take for Nightcrawler. But definitely feel free to throw in a big spit curl on your Nightcrawler for sure. Really get that curl going. Yeah, if I got that one little bit right there, I can enhance that just a little bit. Just my personal approach to Nightcrawler. Not to say I'll never do a spit curl on Nightcrawler, but when I think spit curl, I often think of Superman and Superboy, and oddly enough, She-Hulk. And if you pay close attention, those spit curls for those characters oftentimes make the shape of an S. Coincidence? I don't think so. I think it's intentional. And I love it. I'm going to power down to the 0-1 here to get some of these details in the face. Kind of get that nose going. Start to work in some shadows here under the eyes. We'll fill that in black with the Pentel Pocket brush pen here in a little bit. Kind of fade down here. Start to put in a cheek line. Get kind of his knowing smirk going here. Some shadows here on the face, here around by the bottom lip. Little shadow here at the bottom of its chin. little shadow right here at the clench of his jaw. And this will be filled in black. This will be filled in black. Now let's go back to the 0-8 and start to work on this tail since it overlaps the shoulder. Just going to consider the curve of the tail, the kind of three-dimensional cylindrical part. Like as I come up the tail here, I can add these little detail lines to show the curvature. Just like that. Start to work in the black part of his costume. This will be like a really solid black. That's the red part of his costume right there. Collarbone. Got that little flared part of his costume on his shoulders there. Let's bring the other side of his tail around. Okay. So I'll beef up this outer contour of his face here, give it a little more depth. Okay. Let's grab the eraser and going to erase out most of these lines here. I still have to do his Bamf cloud behind him. For those of you that don't know, Bamf is the sound effect for Nightcrawler's teleportation. Need to adjust his hairline here a little bit. It's a little too high. Want to bring that down just a smidge. Just a smidge. And this area is filled in black. So right now I'm going to take my Pentel Pocket Brush Pen. We're going to start to put in some of the black outer parts of his Bamf cloud. So I'm going to let the brush kind of create these organic shapes here. So today is X-Men Monday on AIPT Comics. So I was interviewed for their Creator Spotlight, and I'll post a link to that interview in the video, or the comments, or the video description. That's the word I want to say, the video description below. So we did something really cool for AIPT's X-Men Monday this week. So you'll want to go check that out, and I'll have more to talk about that here when we wrap up the live stream. So I'm just going to kind of tease that for now. Okay. So I still need to fill in the rest of his body here, but before I do that, I want to fill in the expression lines from the BAMF effect. So from these black areas here, I'm going to pull these little lines from the black towards him to create this sense of kind of the exploding nature of his BAMF power signature. So all the lines kind of radiate towards him. Just like that. So next up is now I can fill in the rest of the black of his face and costume. So just start to create a little buffer, and then I can just fill in the black. A little darker from the hair, or fading up into the hair. And underneath his eyes, along the bridge of his nose and under this other eye. And then the center part that runs from his collar down the center of his costume. That's going to be all black. Just a nice, stark, black shape. Very slimming, very slimming. And then over here on his shoulders, which would head to his sleeves. Black as well. Just kind of want to double check here, see if I want to add a little more to the face. I think it might be good here. Actually, I do want to beef up some blacks here along the cheek line. Towards the chin as well. A little bit more inside of the ear here. All right, let's start coming in with some color now. I'm going to utilize some different types of blues. So I'm going to start with his skin. His face and tail are kind of a different, it's a very, very fine blue fur, whereas hair I see as a different color. So I'm going to start with some B04 as my initial blue. Going to leave a few open areas here that can create a gradation to a lighter blue. And here on his tail. So that's some B04, and I'm going to power down to a B02. You can leave a little bit of an open area right there on the tip of his nose. Okay, now let's put some yellow in his eyes. I'm gonna come in with some Y08, different shade of yellow than I usually use for like costumes. I want a different kind of more of a glow to his eyes, so I'm using these very bright yellows. Power that down to a Y06. Very, very vibrant yellows. At least they're very vibrant on white paper. The purple paper kind of mutes it a little bit, but that's okay. Now for his hair, I'm going with some darker shades of blue to kind of create a contrast between the light fur of his skin and the hair. So I'm going to start with some B97 to pull from the dark hair, the dark shadows of his hair, towards the outer part of his hair. Then from there I can power down to a B95. And from there, I'm going to take it to the B12. It's a very light shade of blue that it's pulling towards. Now for the red of his costume, oops, see a little part of his ears and face that I missed. I just want to make sure I get that a little more filled in. So now for his costume, start with a little R56, just to get some dark sections here, just a few. Just kind of like at his shoulders a bit. And then from here, I'm going to use R27, which is more of my base red. And then from there, power down to an R24. Which on this purple paper looks almost like the R27, but that's okay. Let's come in with some cool grays here on Nightcrawler, drop in some shadows. I'm going to start with a cool gray 4. Because it's a bit dark here. Blue's a bit of a dark color, so I need a darker shade of gray than I would if I was doing more traditional skin tones. Really put a lot of this around the eye to make those yellow eyes stand out even more. Underneath the nose there, maybe at the top of the bridge, kind of pulling from the black. At the cheeks, inside the ear here. Maybe just underneath the nose, around the chin. Some sculpting up of the muscles here of his costume. Maybe a little bit of a shadow of the tail overlapping, just like that. Creates a little depth, that cast shadow. Maybe pull some of this through the hair just a little bit. Kind of blends, all the inks blend together here with Copic markers. So just taking full advantage of that. A little darker underneath his chin there, more of a shadow. A little bit more at the corners of his mouth, one on this side of his tail. A little bit behind his head here. And let's see, that would go for some cool gray 5, just a little bit darker, just for some certain areas here to create more of a gradation. A little bit darker around his eyes. Just pump up some of the darker areas. All right, now what I want to use is some shades of purple here, just to kind of pump up the Banff smoke. Let's see. Do I know Cartoon Block? Evan? Yeah, yes, I do. Evan's a great guy. Great guy. Usually see Evan at the SoCal conventions like WonderCon and San Diego Comic-Con. Fortunately, when those conventions canceled this year, who knows when I'll get a chance to see Evan again. But really, really good guy. Good artist, too. So some V04 there, if I forgot to mention it. I'm going to bring in a little V06. To create a gradation of dark to the light, to the lighter shades. And we'll just put a little bit of a gray behind him, just to mute the background a bit. So we'll start with a neutral gray. I think I'll start with a 4, and we'll see how that goes. Oops, got a few hairs there I forgot to erase. Just take those out real quick. Oh, I see some pencil lines over here that I missed. Just go ahead and take those out, since I can see them now. So some cool gray 4 to some cool gray 2, or just a little bit of gray. I want to keep more of the purple of the paper behind him as a lighting for the of the Banff cloud. Just put a little gray through his eyes here, just to kind of create a bit of a roundedness, just a little bit under the eyelids there. And now it's time for finishing move. Got my Uniball Signo white gel pen. Gonna put the outline around Nightcrawler. Give him some pop off of the paper. So just bringing these lines around. Just like that. Now what I think I want to do is bring this outline all the way around the tip of his tail. Just to really let it stick out in the foreground over his shoulder there. Have a tricky area here through his hair. I'm going to let his body overlap his tail. There at the shoulder, just to pump it into the foreground. Actually, now that I think about it, we're just going to separate his head from his tail with these outlines here. Just going to put a few flecks of white into the Banff cloud. Just kind of let these dot in. Just add another layer of white to the outline on his tail there. Let's see, I'm going to put a little highlight in his eyes here. Just to give him a little bit of spark. And now I can drop my name on this to wrap this one up. And today is the 18th of May, 2020. And there we go, Nightcrawler on a purple Post-it. So I like that the purple of the paper kind of is a lighting effect. It kind of colors Nightcrawler in this Banff sort of moment here. So I thought that made for a nice transition sort of color. So let's flip the camera around. We can wrap up this live stream, and I can share with y'all some of my X-Men Monday news and how that will play into stuff I have planned for tomorrow and Wednesday. So let's flip around and we could talk about that. Sorry, gang, I had a little spinny thing. I don't know if there's some sort of glitch in the connection, but so glad we're back. So, shot of Nightcrawler to the X-Men Monday interview I did for AIPT. That has gone up sketch based on fan response that AIPT had hosted some Twitter polls where they gave options of 4 different X-Men you could vote on, 4 different Marvel locations you could vote on, and 4 different... Those 3 polls gave me the information to do an all-new X-Men commission-style piece. So you can see that in the article, and we talk about X-Men and comics and conventions and my approach to art in that interview. It's a lot of fun. Do please go check out that link. The link to that article, an interview on AIPT for X-Men Monday this week. I was honored that they wanted to do the creator spotlight on me. Now, I recorded the entire art process, doing live streams for Tuesday and Wednesday this week. I'll be back on Thursday, but I will have new full length art videos to upload it for y'all to see. So you can see the pencil and inked line art tomorrow on Tuesday, and then the Copic color video on Wednesday, and then join me here on Thursday for a new art live stream. And right now, that's going to kind of be the new live stream schedule. Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays each week. Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays of the week is the plan for. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel and your notifications are set to alert you when I, 1, schedule new art live streams, and 2, upload new art videos so you don't miss out on the X-Men. These are full length, I think 1080 recording with audio commentary where I Q&A from questions that I asked for over on my Instagram account. So gang, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have a great start to your week. Stay healthy, keep washing those hands, and stay safe. And I'll see you again real soon. Everybody take care. I'm Todd Nauck. Keep on